And good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Adventures in Truth podcast. My name is Jim Case, and I'm your host, and welcome to the show. We are having a little bit of technical difficulty this morning. Moshe is going to be joining in just a second. So we're going to take a couple minutes here, talk about the show for a second. So if you're new to the show, welcome. Adventures in Truth is all about taking those deep dives into the deepest part of our experience and kind of unraveling the truths that we kind of assume or the belief systems that we sort of live by, and taking them and dissecting them and really look at them at how they serve us or not serve us, and then providing ways and things that you can do to help shift your perspective, to help raise your vibration, to help find that joy and centered happiness in your experience. So, welcome aboard. Welcome. Thank you for being here. There's a lot of really great things going on. I seem to think I can't tell if I'm getting a microphone or not here. Hang on just a second. Dun, dun, dun. Always these interesting things going on here as you're learning technology and figuring out technology and all that good stuff. So today, the conversations with Moshe, when he is able to jump on, will be talking a little bit about all the energy that's going on and all of the just all of the things that are happening that are coming from all kind of different directions, and how we might better able to just be with those experiences. What things to pay attention to? What energy do I need to be mindful of? What energy does it even matter that's out there? I think part of the conflict that we all encounter is that we experience so many different things and so many different viewpoints, and it's sometimes really challenging to determine what things to pay attention to or not pay attention to. So we're going to dive into that here shortly. And to get us started, as we have been doing, I'd like to take a moment and just sort of bring focus. I'd like to bring you present to this moment, to bring you present in now, so that you can enjoy the podcast. And also, as you go through your day, when you bring yourself to that place of centeredness, of alignment, it really has a huge impact on what happens through the rest of your day. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a little breath. In my world, breath is the foundation of everything. Breath is what drives life experience. It's what drives health. It's what drives wellness. So for me, breath is everything, because breath represents life. Breath is energy. Breath is the thing that stimulates the body. It's what activates everything in the body. Without breath, we are not existent. So utilizing breath and learning how to utilize breath so that you can fully embrace all of the experience that you're here and having. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment with me here and just bring yourself present. Let yourself settle into your body. Feel your body. Just take a deep breath. Let it go. And focus your breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Just feeling your body, feet on the floor or crossed, or however you can do that. Just grounding yourself in present moment and letting your eyes gently close if you can. And take one more deep breath. Just release it out. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And we're going to do a little counted breath. We're going to inhale to a count of 4, and then we're going to exhale to a count of 6. And the reason we're going to do that is that I want you to take as complete a breath as you can on the 4. And as you release the 6, I want you to push past your comfort level and push all of that stale air out of your lungs and out of your body. We tend to breathe shallowly. We tend to breathe only down to just by our nipples. And I want your breath to go all the way down your body and fill the space. And then you're going to hold it, and then you're going to release it and release it and release it. So work with me here on this. All right. As your eyes are closed, again, feeling right into the center of your heart space in your body, taking that deep breath, inhaling to 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top for just a second, and then release to 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Relaxing there for just a second, and then inhale, taking it all in. 2, 3, 4. Hold for just a second, and then release it all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold that just a second. It feels panicky, but stay with it. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top for just a second and then release it all. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want you to carry that on twice more on your own. Inhale. Hold at the top and release. Pushing out all of that stale air again. Inhale. Hold it and release it. And then push out all of that air. Drive it out of your lungs and let yourself breathe naturally. Just be in your experience for just a moment. Be present in right now. And as you breathe, breathe in, I am love. I am love. I am love. Breathe out, I am love. I am love. I am love. And be with that experience for just another moment. And when you're ready, take your time, bring yourself present. We'll give you just a second. What are these conversations? I'm going to set the foundation here. So Moshe and I have known each other for many years. Moshe was a client earlier when I was in San Diego, and over the years we've developed a very strong bond and friendship. Moshe's an amazing guy. He's got a PhD. He just published an amazing book called The Amare Wave, a very successful business consultant. And as we would gather each week, we would sit and have conversations prior to doing sessions, which was, I was doing a hybrid living program at the time. And so we would have these sessions sort of clearing space and getting prepared for our work together. And during these sessions, there was a lot of processing and there was a lot of stuff going on and untangling and unraveling and reframing. And each week new things would come up, new things would expand. And so we would have these wonderful conversations and getting the space ready and getting his energy ready and my energy ready. And invariably in these conversations, he would always say, we really should be recording this. And in the moment, I never really thought about it until we were already halfway through it. And so flash forward to a few years, here we are. And Moshe is graciously accepted my invitation to come join me periodically on the show. And it occurred to me the other day that we've kind of come full circle. Like, oh my gosh, we get to do these conversations with Moshe. We get to have these recorded conversations. And always they were about, important things to us individually as far as consciousness was concerned and expansion of consciousness. So it's been an amazing evolution and incredibly extraordinary to me that we get to be here today, getting to have that conversation and getting to have more of those conversations. So I'm excited for that. I'm not sure why our technical issues are what they are right now, but so be it. We'll carry on forward. So when he gets here, we will do that. So I also want to take a moment here while we're being technically challenged. I see he has arrived. Hang on just a second. We're going to let him in. And a fine good morning, Moshe.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning. Had a technical problem on my end. Sorry about that.
No worries. That's why I was telling everybody. I went ahead and did the first little segment here talking about what are these conversations. We were just talking. I was just sharing a little bit of our history and how this idea evolved. That's as we sat on the couch together and in restaurants together.
Yes.
and having these conversations and getting about a third of the way through going, we should be recording this.
Yes.
And so now here we are, and we get to record it. And so there's so many feelings about this. I got to tell you, Marcia, there's so many feelings about being right here, right now, and having that kind of full circle experience about this is very emotional, because at the time, I think I didn't quite, I don't know if it was believe in myself is a good word, because I never really registered that, meaning you would say it, we would have it in the context, and it happened many times. It wasn't like it was once or twice,
Right.
except I never owned it. There was never a part of that I was ready to say, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. Because at that point, I couldn't see what the point would be. And isn't it funny that our limited vision sometimes makes we make choices out of limited vision that doesn't, that we don't always understand until later.
Yeah.
And so now getting to be here, getting to sit here with you and dive into this is a lot of fun, and I'm super excited to see where we go.
Me too. And I remember those conversations, Jim, and I think it's an example of wanting something and yet there being somehow resistance to making it happen, or the time isn't right, or whatever it is.
Yeah, trusting. I think ultimately, as I said, maybe there was some not ready to be out there kind of experience, or not knowing what I would do with it, or not feeling confident enough to say, yeah, well, that's a nice idea, but it's interesting too that as I've evolved, as I've grown, and as this podcast has come about, and as my book is being published, there's so many things that are evolving, and your book being published, and our relationships over these past 5 years, that just incredible movement that's occurred for both of us. It's quite remarkable. I was sharing earlier with our listeners a little bit of your history and the wonderful book. And what I didn't get to do is to tell you that to connect with Moshe, to learn more about his amazing book and the work that he does, go to www.theamarewave.com. And there you can learn. He's also got some great stuff that goes out in the way of emails and stuff that very inspirational, and stuff to help uplift, and how to apply this Amare Wave, this love energy, not only to business, but to all areas of your life. So it's definitely worth the read. It's a great book, and I'm glad you're here to help me with having an amazing conversation.
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this. All right, so what we were talking about and what prompted this was sort of a broad stroke, which was Moshe was suggesting, well, what if we talk about all this energy, and how do you identify what's mine and what's yours, and all this freaking energy coming from all different directions, all at once, and what do we do? So I wasn't really sure where to jump off, so I thought I'd let you lead that. As far as what your thought process was specifically about wanting to identify the energies and stuff.
Well, in my personal experience, it has to do with all the upheaval that's going on in our world right now. And a week ago or so, I was telling my wife, I feel this churning inside, and I don't know what it is. And I did know it was bigger than me. And what I mean by that is, I fortunately was able to discern this is not my issue, so to speak. So sometimes when we feel this churning or upsetness, we think, oh, something's wrong. I better look into my relationship with my wife or my kids or business associates, or look at some part of my life. So there can be an assumption that if something feels off, I need to find it and fix it. It's within me. And this was different. It felt more like it's energy out there in the world that we all need to integrate and respond to. And it is a disturbing kind of energy. It doesn't, I would not say it feels good.
Agreed.
But it's there. So I thought it would be useful to talk about, and useful for listeners, for everyone really, to be able to discern what energy is theirs versus what energy belongs to other people and they've allowed into their space. That's pretty common. And then what energy is beyond that, beyond a few individuals, that's part of this greater whole that we feel and react to.
Right on. Well, I'll start with actually, it was funny because that you ended exactly where my contemplation this morning left off before I got on here, and that is to talk about this idea. As many of you know, and as Moshe knows, uh, there's a lot of law of attraction in my life. I believe very strongly in that idea of what law of attraction talks about, particularly with Abraham Hicks. And one of the words that they use consistently about things that are coming up and about energies is this idea of contrast. And I love the concept of contrast because contrast takes all of the energy of emotion out of whatever it is that's occurring. So contrast can be anything, and it's our subjectiveness that decides whether it's good or bad. It's our thought process is determining whether that contrast is good or bad. So what I'm experiencing right now, and as you were describing, is I would call it disruption. Uh, it feels like from every direction, the energy that comes at us is disruptive. It's intended to disrupt, whether intentional or natural. And I don't mean to say disruptive from a combative place, meaning I'm not saying some particular faction or particular group is creating certain disruption. I'm saying that the energy at large is about disruption, and that disruption is sourced out of the desire for this and from this entire planet, not just the humans but all of the people on all of the beings on this planet that are in this experience, and that includes the planet, by the way, that are experiencing this tremendous out of balance condition that we've arrived at, but at the same time trying to introduce or trying to bring in an elevated energy, meaning an energy that uplifting energy, that energy that's transforming the planet, transforming us individually. So this contrast, this energy contrast, is a rub, and rubs can feel all kinds of ways. Rubs can feel really irritating, they can feel minorly annoying, they can feel completely disruptive. Really depends on where you are, with who you are, and how you are aligning yourself with that relationship. And I want to be real specific that you understand my language here, because I did not include anything outside of self.
Mm.
I specifically did not include anything outside of self. So it is not about aligning outside of self. So I'll take a pause at that moment to see if all that registered and digested, and then we can carry on from there. Any thoughts on that, Moshe?
Yeah, particularly about your conclusion that everything is within self, because especially when the energy feels like it's from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
it's so tempting to go outside.
Yeah.
And
And go ahead. Sorry.
well, and to go to ways to align with outside forces, whether it's let me take this class, let me learn this thing. So it's getting more external stuff to balance the external energies.
And that is what we have done. That is what has been before, but I don't believe will be satisfactory now. Nor do I believe it will be resolving either, because so much of our energy has been put on outside focus that we are now lacking the internal anchors. And all you have to do is look around everywhere. There's a certain quality. When we talk about contrast, there's a certain percentage of people who are aware of the energies, and because of their daily practice, because of the things they're doing to support their own field, their own energy, they're seeing it as a rub, and it's uncomfortable, and it isn't terribly pleasant, but it isn't incapacitating, because you recognize it as an object in the field of your awareness. So it's a thing, as opposed to an emotionally charged thing, or something that's emotionally charged is good. I don't have to go anywhere else with that. So the importance of understanding that this energy is internal is that you have to begin to, and I say have to again, it's all choice. There isn't a bad choice or a wrong choice. It is only the choice that serves for your alignment or your non-alignment. and you're going to feel particular ways based on those choices. So it doesn't require a judgment. It doesn't require you to further lop on to wherever you're at by judging where you're at. The whole point is to get out of the fray of that constant, what way am I looking? Who am I talking? What am I doing? What do I got to, how do I fix this? What do this sort of angsty craziness when you're feeling all of that, when you're feeling all of that insecurity and unstableness around you, you have to go inside to find your stability. It's the only place it exists. It's not, that's what this world is telling you. The pandemic comes at you from 17 different directions. There's as many opinions as there are experts. There's as many viewpoints. And I part of me laughs, part of me wants to cry as I look at all of the stuff that one day one person is losing their minds over masks, and the next day another person is losing their minds over social distancing. And in the end, why fight? And I don't mean acquiesce because surrender to the man. You're not surrendering to the man. You're doing what you need to do to survive on the planet, to thrive on the planet, to be here now. The circumstances and the story and the drama and the nonsense, it's just that. It's just that. We don't have any clue where this is all evolving. So we all have to bring an alignment to who we are in a very clear way, in a very powerful way, so that that energy is what leads us forward. It leads you forward, and then it brings everybody along with it, because it's an uplifting, or it's not, and it's a drain energy. But where you lead that energy is where you are leading others with you, because everyone who aligns with your field will begin to gather and pull in that direction. So where are you wanting to go? What are you wanting to do? Are you standing in the line of expressing all of who you are in the world, regardless of the story that's going on all around the world? I know that got a little.
Yeah, that's a lot of big ideas. A couple of things come to mind as you say that. One is our culture, our world invites, intrigues, seduces, pulls, whatever the word is, out of ourselves. It's seemingly designed, or we've allowed it to do that through many forces. And in part, that's what consumerism is a lot about. Buy this thing, buy this shampoo, and life will be better. Wear these clothes, and life will be better, and so on. So, or listen to this person, and there's value in some of those things, certainly, but it can also take us off center and outside of ourselves too much. So, given that we have these constant tugs to do the opposite of what you're saying, how do we, once we recognize that's happening, how do you tell people to very quickly find their center?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So, and it's a good question because you can change anything in the moment if you're in the present moment. Anything can be shifted radically right now if you're fully committed and fully aligned with yourself in the moment. If you haven't been practicing that, if you haven't been building those muscles, then it's going to take a little longer. But you got to, the practice is where it's at. I mean, think about it in terms of anything. I'll even use something silly like miniature golf. If you play miniature golf once a year, you're probably going to suck at it most of the time. If you play 4 times a year, yeah, you're probably going to be okay, but you're still not going to be great because you're going to refresh every time you come back to playing miniature golf. If you're playing once a week, now, once a month, a little more consistency, you're going to have a little more ease and flow with it. You're going to have more strategy with it. You're going to have more alignment with how do I angle the ball? How do I shoot the ball? And of course, if you go by week, and so it's the same with our daily practice. It's the same with our relationship to self. If you haven't been generating that relationship, then now is the time to start that. So if you're in your moment and you're having that experience, the first thing to do is tools to help you shift. That's where breath becomes important. That's where, whether you use an aggressive breath to shift yourself, whether you go for a walk, whether you there's certain music you can listen to. The challenge with music, though, is you have to be careful because, again, everything carries a consciousness. And when you listen to music, especially music with words, it's stimulating emotional stuff. So if you go to music, try to go to music that is more instrumental in nature, something that has a frequency. And there's so much out there now, so much out there that actually tells you that this is of a certain frequency so that you can use it in a way that satisfies your field. When I go into meditation, I like to use instrumental stuff, but I don't just use anything. I'll sometimes I'll go through 3 or 4 songs before I find the one that's resonating because the one that I'm listening to is like, oh yeah, no, that's not, yeah, that's not settling in here. I gotta, and it could be absolutely beautiful, but there's something about the way it's done that doesn't serve what I'm looking for. So,
Right.
As far as what you can do in the moment, there's so many little things you can do, but they're challenging, and that's okay. But when you have that reaction, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Step back. Give yourself permission to say, wait a second, something's amiss here because I'm having a negative response. I need to step back and I need to understand what my response is. What is going on with me? As opposed to having that response and then reacting to that response. Because a lot of times the reaction to the response, when we have somebody says something and we react to it, the reaction that we have and the feeling of it is actually more a sense of judgment of self because there's a moment of feeling out of control. And so the immediate attempt is, I'm dealing with this situation come up, that person made me feel out of control, therefore. When in reality, what took place was there was an interaction. The energy in that interaction stimulated something in you, and you are reacting to that recognition within yourself. So if you can step back from that for a moment, then breathe into that feeling, you will begin to inform yourself of what that response is. And then you'll begin to see how connected it is to your internal life. We're just so used to being reactive about everything that we don't stop. And stop and breathe, use the breath. It doesn't mean you have to sit there and do a 20-minute breathing exercise. And if you can, do it because it's going to shift your energy. But I've been outside of courthouses. I had to go for many years. I had to go in for a ticket. I was terrified because it was expensive. I didn't have the money, and I was hoping that I could talk to the cop, and maybe he would understand my situation, not my financial situation, but what took place that caused me to get the ticket. It was just a bizarre circumstance, but I decided outside of the courthouse, no, I'm not going into this in fear. I want to go into this clear so that I can be clear about what's going on. And so I did my breathing. It took, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes outside in a corner of the courthouse, just getting my space set. And what happened when I went in is I sat out there for a while, and I had hoped I'd see the cop, but the truth was I wouldn't have recognized him if he walked up in front of me. So as the courtroom opened, as I started to go into the courtroom, I saw a cop to my left, and I saw his badge, and it was the guy who had given me the ticket. And so I literally stepped out of line and walked over to him and said, can I have a minute of your time? And I quickly said, I don't know that you're interested in my story, but I would really like to tell you what took place because I would like your consideration for this not to be a criminal speeding ticket. I think it was something over 10 miles an hour. And he looked at the ticket and he turned the ticket over and he said, you know what? I don't have any notes on this ticket, so I actually don't remember what happened. So I'm going to call for a dismissal of this ticket. And we went into the courtroom, and he literally stood up and said, I'm dismissing this ticket. And I walked out of the courtroom not having paid it, not having to deal with that ticket.
Wow.
That happens all the time, but not that situation. I mean, but that shift occurs, and it was nothing more than consciously choosing in the moment not to go there. I don't want my energy to go down the toilet. I want to have the energy to successfully navigate this. So what do I have to do that? And it doesn't matter what you have to do. If you have to run away, run away. It won't run away every time. The point is, get out of the immediate energy so that you can breathe into it, breathe into the energy, lose the reaction, and then be with yourself about what just took place. And sometimes that's not always easy to do, but is the step. Every time is the step. So at each time you do it and you see the success of how much better you feel and how easier it is to look at the situation or look at this circumstance, then you can take the next steps then to respond from a place that's centered inside of yourself and not a place that's somewhere over here or over here based on where that's stored in your energy system.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I want to summarize a couple
Yeah.
things and then follow up on them. So one key part is recognizing I don't like how I feel right now. Something is off. And it might not matter what or why. So what you did not say is figure out what's causing it.
Hmm.
So you did not go to the analysis where, at least in this culture, we're typically trained to go.
Right.
And so
and not in the initial moment, no.
yes. So initially it's skipping the why, recognizing this doesn't feel good. And a critical point, I think, is not judging the fact that it doesn't feel good and being self-critical. Instead, just notice. So we've talked about this before, is just becoming the observer, the witness, and kind of, oh, isn't that interesting? I feel all this energy churning up. Doesn't feel good. And then from there, it's letting it go, dismissing it through breathing as a primary tool you keep circling back to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I think it's important to emphasize, it's not always easy, especially in the moment. And our egos and emotions like us to stay in that emotion. Mm-hmm. And I think where it gets tricky, and this leads to one of the follow-up questions, is it's sometimes easy to find reason for the emotion. So if I'm angry about, like when George Floyd was murdered, mm-hmm. and a lot of people were angry, I was angry, and what the hell? What is again? And feeling this energy moving, it also felt like an appropriate reaction. Mm-hmm. So I want to clarify, you're not saying don't feel things anytime, or anytime you feel emotions, you need to neutralize it. It's when, and it's not even anytime it feels bad, because some of that is necessary, that it can inform us.
Absolutely. And that's a very, very important distinction. And something that has been really, really up for me a lot lately is understanding that you're not trying to shut down your emotional system, you're trying to integrate it so that it is, if you remember the conversations about capital S self and small s self, mm-hmm. when you're aligned in small s self, it's all about ego, it's all about what you're doing to me, it's all about the reaction and the emotion. When you're in the large S self, it's about indications. So the emotional experience is indicating your current perspective of that situation. And so it's giving you an opportunity to go, whoa, wait a second. This doesn't feel good. What's up with this? And so it's not feeling good. So I'm gonna step back from it, because either I don't know enough, I need more information, there's something I need to understand differently about me in relation to this thing. And now, as you said, it's not always easy to disengage from a circumstance. So sometimes you may have the situation and then you got to disengage from it after the fact. And you're all swirling in the emotion and you're all crazy about all the experience and the words were said and this happened and then that happened. And we immediately want to get caught up in the story of it and rehearse that we rerun the story every direction from breakfast, trying to figure out how we could have beat them upside the head or smacked them or stopped them or fixed it or done it or whatever. When really, if we stop for just a moment and breathe into the feeling is all kinds of things, because it's an out of control feeling. You had potentially a huge blast of energy that came into your field as a result of the interchange that took place that's still processing. There are times, if I'm really affected, I will go quiet for as long as it takes until I feel like I can interact in a human way again. And I've had that go on for sometimes a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, sometimes 2 or 3 hours,
Right.
because the intensity of the energy was so much that it takes the time to let that burn off, to let it go, and not to attach it. Because see, the reason that I'm stimulated is because not only did I have this convergence of energy, but there were parts of it that were pinging parts of my own buttons. There was parts of it that were stimulating my own triggers, right? Small ones, big ones, maybe a bunch of small ones. So there's this cacophony of emotional noise between blasted energy and then all of these noises and these voices talking to you about all of the things you need to fix or do or handle or whatever. And so what I'm saying is that this is where the breath and the distance comes so important. You breathe into it, you let the energy expand, and you think, God, why would I want it to get bigger? It's not about it getting bigger, it's about giving it space, because our tendency is to clamp down. Our tendency is to stop that. I don't like that. I don't want that. That doesn't feel good. I'm saying, no, stop doing that. Breathe into it, expand the energy, let the energy roll. It's going to move. It's energy. It's coming and it's going. The impact it's creating is because it's hit different things in your field and you don't know what to do with it. And you may not have to do anything with it. That's just stuff that's there. And if it's stuff that can be resolved as a result of this, the only way that's going to happen is to step back and breathe into it, because then you can be inspired and connected to understanding what you're reacting to. You're not really reacting. The only thing that you may be reacting to that outside source is a particular energy that came your way. But typically the reaction is what it stimulates inside of us. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, whatever my question was.
All of a sudden I come back and go, oh, wait, was I still talking about his question? Wait a minute.
Yeah. There's the thread of recognizing and managing the energy that comes in, that it's coming from the outside. It's not ours. And we need to manage it, dissipate it, integrate it, whatever we do. And I think as long as I've known you, Jim, energy has been your middle name, maybe your first name.
Actually, my first name.
Yeah. And it always comes back to virtually everything is energy in one form or another. I remember reading an Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, an incredible book. And at one point he said, very concisely, he said, matter is congealed energy. And I know physics has talked about that, but hearing that from a yogi who wrote this 70, 80 years ago, that simply was very powerful. It is all energy, and stuff is simply where it's tightly congealed. And we probably have different forms of congealed energy inside us that we call blocks. And so it all comes back to energy. And I don't want to overlook the skills you teach in your energy work that you've taught to me and a lot of others about shifting states.
Yes, and we can talk about that. And actually, I'm going to do something I haven't done before, Moshe. We're going to take a quick break. And I have worked on a commercial for my book that I'm going to share right now, and I'm very excited about it. So bear with me. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Jim Case here with the Science of Transformation and Adventures in Truth podcast. I am super excited to tell you about my new book, Fear is a Choice, Unraveling the Illusion of Our Separation from Love. This book is a deep dive into the evolution of fear in our human experience. I truly believe this book will change your life. When you read it and integrate it and apply this new understanding of what fear is and how it works, how it's used, you see that fear truly is a choice, whether we're using it consciously or unconsciously. And that awareness will create quantum change in your life, and the freedom that you can experience is extraordinary. Head over to www.adventuresintruth.com and sign up for pre-sales and getting information about the distribution of the book. I'm excited to share it with you, as well as some excerpts going into the future. And thank you for being part of the Science of Transformation family and Adventures in Truth. Have an amazing day. Yay!
That was a good ad. I want that book.
Me too. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I got you didn't get to see the new. I don't know if you got to hear it, but I created the new intro. For those of you that aren't aware of, obviously some changes have happened here with Adventures in Truth, and so some rebranding has occurred as a result of that, and we're excited for all the great things coming, and I'm excited because I'm getting to see all this stuff come together in a way that it hasn't before, and it's really quite remarkable. So I'm very excited about that. So as we carry on, was there a question beforehand? Did you leave us in a question?
No. Well, I brought up about in your energy work, you help people learn to very quickly shift states, and it goes beyond breathing. So I think that either if you want to do it now or it's in some other show, I think that it's really worth mentioning and telling people how they can get started, whether it's working with you or doing a few exercises on their own.
Yeah, there are a lot of exercises. Here's the thing. Moshe and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and this is a challenging conversation based on even what we started talking about when you came on today, and that is there's so much stuff. There's an unbelievable amount of stuff that you can use to diagnose yourself, to think about your process, to create a perspective of your process, to give you an opinion of your process, or to help you understand where you're at in your process. There's just it's extraordinary how many tools there are. The trick and the challenge that I find currently in the community of desire for change and transformation is sort of this scattergun approach. This, I'm going to do 27 things because they're all supposed to be good for me, and then I wonder why I feel so screwed up. I think the answer was in the question, but that's, my perspective of that is, again, this is a unique experience. I'm saying mine is, so is Moshe, so is Jane, so is Paul, so is Steve, so is Lou, so is anybody else. It's a unique experience. So coming at it buckshot or coming at it as a cookie cutter is not serving this. It may be serving this. It may be serving your idea of what is spiritual. It may be serving your idea of how you're supposed to be spiritual, but it is not serving your spirituality. And I say that not because the stuff is not appropriate. I'm saying it because, is it appropriate to you? Does it really, truly resonate with who you are? Or is it a way to keep you from looking and resonating with who you truly are? Because we're not as complicated or as messed up as we would like to sometimes, I think, believe we are. Are there things that are challenging? Absolutely. Are there emotions that are frustrating? Absolutely. Are there days where you just want to just go, I'm done? Absolutely. I'm shifting from perspective here because I really want to emphasize the point that every day it's a choice. Every minute it's a choice. It's not, okay, I'm doing this now, so everything is going to be better. It's I'm doing my meditation once and twice a day because I can right now, because of the impact that it's creating on my energy right now, because it's giving me the opportunity to even more deeply connect to my experience and more deeply create my experience.
Yes.
So breath. There's lots of things we can do, and it's kind of challenging to do it here. Breath, when you use breath in a controlled fashion, so just breathing to a counted flow, when you're just breathing to a counted flow, you're centering yourself. You're calming your nervous system. You're bringing yourself present into this moment, not necessarily shifting state, but in a way you are, because whatever distractions were pulling you out of your alignment, you're realigning back into the center. Once you're into the center, that center is the center of your being. That center then is what creates the connection to the higher self. That's what connects the flow. So the breath then becomes, if you're using breath in that inflow outflow, you get centered and grounded. Now you're in a space to completely shift state. You're in the launch pad for shifting, because now you've come to alignment. So you've come into a harmony with your own field. Now, how can I expand that experience? And the expansion of that experience can be then, wow, you can go all over the place, because then you can use breath in a very aggressive fashion. There's Kundalini breathing, there's prana breathing, there's yoga breathing, there's what I do, which is a sustained state breathing. It's using the energy of the body, connecting to points on the body, what's called the Ida and Pingala, or the Sushumna, where the energy is flowing up and down the spine. That's really what you need to start stimulating that state change. You want to activate the spine. The spine is the center of the energy core of the body. So when those energies are aligned and that flow starts, in the beginning it may be slow, but it's starting to clear all of the energy and settle the nervous system. So when you do yoga after that, if you notice in yoga, I think typically you don't just go to position, bam. There's breathing that's involved that takes you into position, and then there's breathing that's involved that takes you through the position and out of the position and then into a new position. It's all driven by breath and energy. So the challenge of yoga is being able to get into alignment with your body in that process, so that you can feel where those things exist in your energy and in your field, and where your body is hampered by, as Moshe was talking about earlier, those clumps of energy.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I know you did an ad for your book. Can I do a 5-second ad?
Yeah, you can do a 10-second ad.
Okay. Everybody listen. Jim does sessions by Skype that are extraordinary, that can help you do this and shift states and go beyond the recognition and aligning with your center to moving your breath up and down your spine. And it feels really good. I've done it many, many times. It feels really good. End of advertisement.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, that is true. There's a whole program involved with it, but there's also smaller and larger programs and individual situations where, but the Skype thing works well, and is very effective because it is about energy. So for me, I don't see I'm not playing in the distance. I'm dealing with energy.
Yeah.
And to that point, we all have that capacity. We all have that ability, and it's just taking the steps, individual steps, build that foundation, carry that foundation forward. So what other things can we do? How about for you, Moshe? I'm curious. You yourself have created an extraordinary book that focuses on bringing love into business, and as a new sort of paradigm for how we approach business. How do you bring love into your experience in that way on an individual level? How do you encourage it in the context of your work?
Well, it starts with alignment, really. And you and I have had a lot of conversations about this.
Yeah.
After this call, I'll be on with the client, with the leadership team of a technology company I'm working with. And the point of the call is to work on alignment in terms of, are you aligned with yourself? Do your values and your words and your actions all match? And is the company aligned with itself? Does what the company says and what they do match? Because a lot of companies have the words up, we believe in teamwork and integrity and so on in the boardroom and on the annual report and so on, but it means nothing. It's just nice sounding words that aren't carried out in practice, and people see that. Employees know that, other stakeholders, customers see that there's a disconnect. So it's looking at alignment in a non-emotional way. Just, is it there or is it not? And then alignment between the individual and the company. And so in this case, we're going to start with that alignment and then move into creating a manifesto, and Amare is Latin for love, and Amare Way manifesto in each company can customize it to themselves. And that has to do with, what does it look like and feel like if we're on this path of putting love to work? And I define love simply as energy that uplifts and connects. So if we do that in all our work, and that informs all our decisions, what's that like? And there's a lot of trade-offs. It's not easy to do that. Like in a personal relationship, be fully conscious and come from love all the time. We were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
So in my work, I need to live this. And so I'm making changes. For example, I'm changing banks, a business bank I've been with for years, and they're okay, but it's fully transactional. There's very little long-term relationship in place, and it feels inconsistent. As in my book and in my work, I talk about choose to have in your energy field people and organizations that uplift you. And so one example is if I go into Trader Joe's, I feel uplifted. I feel connection. If I go into Vons or Ralph's, it's not bad. It's just emotionally flat.
Yeah.
So life is short. I think we fill our lives with people and organizations that uplift us and give us a sense of connection. And my work is helping companies, organizations get that way.
Very cool. And I love, and to this conversation, the thing that stuck out to me the strongest is that in order for that to happen, you have to deal with the individual. The individual has to deal with themselves in relation to the company, in relation to their ideas of the company, in relation to their ideas of themselves, in relation to the, there are lots of layers, but those layers are all driven off of self-evaluation and self-understanding in relation to, and that's an important part, I think, that we were talking about earlier, is it's in relation to. So I understand me in relation to this, in relation to this person, this business, this activity, this interchange. It's all understanding that dynamic of what's sourcing from here, what's sourcing from me, and what is that going to create in that interaction? How am I going to use my energy? Because a business can't be a business if it doesn't have a consciousness running through it. That consciousness is driven by the people who created it. Therefore, they are ultimately and need to be as responsible for their field as possible, because everything that they do influences that thing that they've created, because it's all their energy.
Yes.
And as you know.
Yes, and the crime that we allow is for businesses and companies, the founders and the executives, to keep the myth alive that business is different, that we can justify bad behavior or misaligned actions because it's quote unquote business. Like the line from The Godfather, where the Godfather was hung to Sonny and said, it's not personal, it's business. I claim the opposite. Business is personal. Everything is personal because we're persons, we're people.
Yeah.
And this might be a subject for another episode, Jim. The whole idea of our remarkable human capacity to tolerate inconsistency and to believe one way and to act another way. And we do it again and again. There's a lot of social psychology built on this called cognitive dissonance theory from the 1970s. Had different names, but it's that idea of we can believe one way and act another, and somehow we can sustain that inconsistency. Your work,
well, we can't. As is, if you stop and look at the state of the world, no, we can't.
Yeah. And your work makes that point. Your work disallows that and calls bullshit and says that doesn't work functionally and energetically. It doesn't work. But we're as a society, we're so out of touch with that energy that we don't. It doesn't. That we still allow it.
Yes.
And what's going on in our world right now, to come full circle to what's all this energy, it's just that. It's all those inconsistencies and mixed messages, and we say this, but we do that, and that are too much to bear, and so some things are cracking open.
Yeah.
that force us to see it. And that creates this energy that you're talking about how to manage.
Yeah. I would, I'm going to say something here that maybe create a little dissonance. And that is the recognition here. So our whole conversation has been about all of this energy that we're experiencing. And what I will say to you, the listener, and to all of us, and to myself included, is the degree of my discomfort in this current time and space is my degree of discomfort with who I am and what I know of who I am in the world. I'll take that for a moment, and tell you why I say that. Because all of those influences, all of the things that we're experiencing, we have the option to take them in, observe them, turn them around. You know, just like your virtual shopping. Here's this thing called racism, and I turn it around and I look at it and I say, okay, there's this thing called racism. Now, what is my relationship to this? How do I relate to this? When I hear Black Lives Matter, what's my response? And if I have a response, where does that response come from in me? Is this a spouted belief that I got from my parents because I've been hearing it my whole life? Is this a belief that is born of experience, of interaction, of engagement, of community? Where is it landing? Any of it and all of it. The level of your discomfort is the level of your willingness to look at yourself, because everything is pointing you in that direction. Everything in the energy is saying, pay attention to you. Everything you're hearing on the outside is noise, and the noise is louder and louder and louder, and you can easily be consumed by all that noise. Or you can choose to find your own space, to find your own connection via your breath, via your daily activity, whatever you're doing to create that foundation, and begin to interact with those different aspects, or not interact if they don't serve to enhance the world or enhance your energy, but enhance your energy first. If they don't lift your space, then you should really not pay attention to it. It may be a bad policy decision. It may be somebody said something horrible to somebody. It may be somebody died. It may be all kinds of things. And it looks like that, especially from the media perspective, and it looks like they're using all of this stuff to trigger us continually. And so it's fueling all of these conspiracy theories about the Soroses of the world who are managing all of this and constructed this huge thing to make us all feel suppressed and horrible, and that we're going. And I have to sit back and go, we don't even give that much credence to God. How the hell are we giving a credence to a bunch of human beings who all of us are flawed, and yet some men or man is so powerful that they can change the course of world history by releasing horrible things on people and trying to manipulate us into control and management. Okay, I guess you can go there, but what does it get you? What's the end game?
Yeah.
What is it? Constant fighting. So now, as a spiritual warrior, we're not going to fight against stupid things. We're going to fight against important things, spiritual things. No, stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Use that energy to take it inside. Use that energy to take it to self. And here I am running my mouth, and time is out. So I apologize, Moshe. I have to wind us down, but I'm so grateful for your being here. Looking forward to that next conversation that you had brought up, because I think that would be a great one.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you so much and love having these conversations. And congratulations on our first conversation with Moshe.
Yeah. More to come. More to come.
What a day. What a day. Everybody out there, have an amazing day. Come see us. I am available for a private session. I am available for group session. I love to talk. Can you tell? But more importantly, tools, helping people find the foundation for their transformation. And it's exciting times. www.adventuresintruth.com. Come over there. You can sign up for pre-sales for the book. You can be in touch with me to schedule a session. www.amarewave.com. Check out Moshe. You can check out his book and let him transform your business. Yes. Guys, thank you. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Adventures in Truth podcast. Thank you for joining us. We'd love to connect with you. Please like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. To learn more about Jim's book, Fear is a Choice, Unraveling the Illusion of Our Separation from Love, or to book a session with Jim, you can email us at adventuresintruth@gmail.com, or you can join us on the web at www.adventuresintruth.com. Tune in next time for another great Adventures in Truth podcast.